जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव काशीनाथ जी की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So I wanted to discuss today with you for a few minutes one of my favorite verses from Bhagavad Gita. This verse is not particularly famous, but I like it very much, and so I thought I'd say a few words and then see if you had any thoughts or comments or questions about this verse as well. So this is from chapter 9 of Bhagavad Gita, text number 17. This chapter is called The Most Confidential Knowledge. I'll just chant it once. If you know this verse, you can repeat after me, otherwise you can just listen. Pitahamasya jagato Mata dhata pitamaha Vedyam pavitram omkara Riksama yajurevacha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. I, Krishna is speaking here, I am the father of this universe, the mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge, the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. Please repeat. I am the father of this universe.
I am the father of this universe.
The mother, the support, and the grandsire. I am the object of knowledge,
I am the object of knowledge,
the purifier, and the syllable Om. I am also the Rig, the Sama, and the Yajur Vedas. Purport. The entire cosmic manifestations, moving and non-moving, are manifested by different activities of Krishna's energy. In the material existence, we create different relationships with different living entities who are nothing but Krishna's marginal energy. Under the creation of Prakriti, some of them appear as our father, mother, grandfather, creator, etc. But actually, they are parts and parcels of Krishna. As such, these living entities who appear to be our father, mother, etc., are nothing but Krishna. In this verse, the word Dhata means creator. Not only are our father and mother parts and parcels of Krishna, but the creator, grandmother, and grandfather, etc., are also Krishna. Actually, any living entity being part and parcel of Krishna is Krishna. All the Vedas, therefore, aim only toward Krishna. Whatever we want to know through the Vedas is but a progressive step towards understanding Krishna. That subject matter which helps us purify our constitutional position is especially Krishna. Similarly, the living entity who is inquisitive to understand all Vedic principles is also part and parcel of Krishna, and as such is also Krishna. In all the Vedic mantras, the word Om, called Pranava, is a transcendental sound vibration and is also Krishna. And because the Pranava or Omkara is very prominent in all the hymns of the four Vedas, Sama, Yajur, Rig, and Atharva, they are also understood to be Krishna. Om Jnanatimidandhasya Jnananjanashlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So, this is one of Krishna's many statements in Bhagavad Gita where he is showing how he is some aspect of this creation. But this one is very special, I feel, because Krishna is identifying how he is actually someone with multiple relationships to us. He is our father, he is our mother, and he says, I am the grandfather. Now, in this world, we get love from many different places. But the love we get from a father is very, very special, and yet it is different than the love we get from a mother. The two are not interchangeable, they're not replaceable. A mother's role is there and a father's role is there. And yet a different kind of love is given by the grandfather or the grandmother. Right? Each one's love is important, it's unique, it's different. And Krishna is saying that he gives all of that. He loves us in all of those ways, as mother, as father, as grandfather. There's one story, perhaps you've heard this before. It's a famous story of Akbar and Birbal. So Akbar was one of the great Mughal Muslim kings of India, who was very broad-minded. And he had a Hindu minister by the name of Birbal. And they would always have discussions about religious sorts of topics, because Akbar had an interest. And so one day he pulled Birbal aside and he said, you know, one thing I don't understand about you Hindus is that your God always seems to be coming down from heaven for every little thing. He comes as this avatar and that avatar and this form and that form, and he's always descending. This seems to be a little bit beneath him. I mean, he doesn't have people who can get things done for him. Is he not competent? Does he not delegate? What's the problem? And Birbal, in his usual style, if you know these kinds of stories, he would never give a straight answer to the question. He'd always say, I'll let you know in time. So he'd wait. Well, one fine day in the king's court, there was a celebration happening where the courtroom was filled with water, and there was kind of a beautiful water decoration and a boat, a ride all around, and you know, this is called Nauka Vihar, and it happens in temples, it happens in king's courts on hot summer days. Cools everyone off. So this was happening, and the king had a little son, the prince. He was just small. And in the course of the festival, all of a sudden, no one knows whether it was on purpose or just like that, but all of a sudden the king's son, the little boy, slipped into the water. And he was too small. He didn't know how to swim. And there was a big hue and cry and a panic that arose that the prince was in the water. He was in danger. But before anyone could help the prince, what happened? Akbar jumped off his throne and he was in the water, and he picked up his son and saved him. And at that point, Birbal pulled the king aside and he said, sir, what was the matter? He said, well, my son was drowning. He said, yes, but we have a whole army contingent standing here to protect you and your son. I am here. All his well-wishers are here. Why did you have to come down? You could have just let us do it. And Akbar said, what, are you crazy? This boy is my son. I can't stand up there and watch him in the water, even if I know all of you will protect him. I have to do something. I'm his father. And so Birbal said, you see, this is exactly why Krishna keeps coming down again and again and again. This is why the Lord says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam sajamya. I come down again and again. And why? He's not crazy. It's because paritranaya sadhuna. Because my children, the good souls of this world, need to be saved. They need to be protected. Paritrana. I have to lift them up. I have to help them. And therefore Krishna says that I don't delay when I come. He says, I come very, very quickly, and I lift them out of this material world. He said, Bhavami nachirat partha. It doesn't take me very long at all. I'm right away, I'm there. So this is what Krishna is expressing in this verse. He says, Pitaham, I am the father. And it is my job to protect my children. We see this particularly in the case of Lord Nrsimhadev, the song that we sang after Arati, the Nrsimha Pranam, that the Lord comes running down from Vaikuntha just to save one little boy by the name of Prahlad. You know, they say, well, every hiker knows, if you go out hiking in the woods, in a national park or someplace, you want to be careful about large animals, bears and mountain lions and jaguars and like that. But when is a large animal the most dangerous? Do you know? When you really have to stay away?
Protecting his children.
When there's children with the mother or the father, right? When there's a child there, then the animal, you have to turn around and back off. Because any little risk or indication that you are a threat to the children, the animal might tolerate and might back off under normal circumstances. Like bears, if you make a lot of noise, then they'll just back off. But if the children are there, then backing off doesn't happen. They attack. Because the worry is to protect the child. So Bhagavatam describes that Lord Nrsimhadev, when he appears, he is ferocious like a lioness who is protecting her cubs. In the same way, Lord Nrsimhadev cannot tolerate the danger that his son, his boy Prahlad, is looking for, is in rather, and that his father is attempting, you know the story, his father Hiranyakashipu is trying to kill his own son. The one who is supposed to be father is father in name only. He's trying to kill his son for being a devotee of Krishna, being a devotee of God. And he's separating him from Krishna, saying, no, don't chant his name, chant my name. I am Bhagavan. I am the Lord. And yet, in the end, who protects Prahlad? Not that so-called father, but his original father, our original father, the ultimate father, Krishna, who comes down in this really awesome form. Such an unusual form that the Bhagavatam says is never before seen, adrishyam. It's never before seen. The Lord takes this form specifically as half man, half lion to protect Prahlad, to protect his son. A form that is laughable for Hiranyakashipu. Hiranyakashipu looks at him and he says, "This is your God? An animal?" But he doesn't know that the lion is most dangerous when she's come to protect her cubs. And the Lord in this form as a lion, he's very, very protective of the devotees. And very, very dangerous. Hiranyakashipu tanubhringam, and he's able to crush Hiranyakashipu's, just like a child might crush a moth, right? So easily and so ferociously. So Krishna is like this. He'll go to no extent. He'll spare no expense or trouble to protect his devotees, like a father, Pita. And therefore in Bhagavad Gita he says that I am the seed-giving father. He says, Aham bija pradapita. I give the seed which then gives birth to all these beings in this world. And yet, one might argue that the father's role is still too distant. After all, in the birth of a child, the father has it easiest, right? He gives the seed, and then done. Then it's the mother who has to carry the baby for 9 months within the womb, and then go through the pain of birth, and then has to breastfeed the child and give her own milk and all of that. So we can say, well, God is too distant, he's too aloof, he's too strict, he doesn't care enough. And to allay our fears, therefore Krishna says, Pitahamasya jagata mata. I'm also the mother. No, don't think that I'm far away. I'm also the mother. Everyone says that God is Father, and everyone says that therefore God protects us, and God creates us. But how does he create us? It's more than just someone who goes to a construction site and builds a building. That is one way to create things, right? You can go to a construction site and you can hammer and chisel and you can nail things and you can build something. And then you walk away from it. But there's another way to create in this world that is far more difficult and far more intimate. And that is the creation that a mother does of a child. Where she creates a child not by gathering wood and concrete and dirt from different places and paying some money for it and hammering it. She creates the child how? From her own blood and her own flesh, her own body. She gives body shape to the child's form. So when Krishna says that he is the mother of creation, he means something very significant, right? That we are part of him. Just like the child born is literally part of the mother's body, till that umbilical cord is cut. Every breath of the mother is a breath of the child. Every bite the mother takes is a bite of food for the child. That's such an intimate connection. And Krishna is saying this world, all of us, we are connected to Krishna, not just as children to a father, but as a child to a mother. We are part of his body. We are part and parcel of who he is. We're made of him. And therefore Krishna, Prabhupada in this purport, again and again is saying, these living entities, they are part and parcel of Krishna, and therefore they are Krishna. Just like we can say of a child, that this little boy is part and parcel of the mother, and therefore, in a sense, he is the mother. Everything about him, or this little girl, everything about her is part of the mother's body. So Krishna's relationship with this world is very intimate and very personal. And just in case we have any doubt about the different kinds of love that Krishna gives, he covers one more. Father and mother, but also grandparent. Because the love of a grandparent is yet different. It's yet different. The grandparents can give the child what the mother and father cannot. They can tell the child, you want ice cream? Let's go out and get ice cream. And then it's the parents' problem, right? To say, no, we've had too much sugar already. No, we've had too much ice cream. We're not getting any more ice cream. But grandma said we could. Right? This is the love of a grandparent. They can spoil a child in a way that even the parents cannot, mother or father, because they have a different responsibility. So Krishna is saying, even that kind of love I give you. I'll fulfill all your desires. If you want to be Hiranyakashipu, I'll help you become Hiranyakashipu. Indirectly, through Brahma, he gave him all these boons. You can't be killed in the day or in the night, inside or outside. And he says, okay, eat all the ice cream you want. No problem. On the one hand, he's disciplining us. On the other hand, he's fulfilling all of our desires. All of those forms, Krishna's there. And therefore, he asks us for a response that matches that relationship. That matches. This is why we chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Sometimes people ask, why do you have to scream and shout so loud? Hare Krishna. Is God deaf? Can he not hear? If you just call him silently, will he not hear? Of course he will hear. He's there in the heart. And he hears everything. He knows our desires before we know them. And yet, if he says he's the father and the mother, then we have to be the child. And how does a child cry for the parents? Loudly. Loudly. It's a sincere cry. Of course, even if the child doesn't cry, the parents will feed the child, feed the baby, and bathe and dress and clean the diaper and all of that. They will do. In fact, they will be even more caring, worried. Why is the child not crying? Like there's some problem. That's actually the biggest indicator that there's something wrong with your baby. Is if the baby doesn't cry. So you get worried. So Krishna will take care. But it's in our natural position to cry out to the Lord. To make ourselves small before him. And say, Krishna, please help. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada says that our chanting of Hare Krishna should be like the sincere cry of a child for its mother. In that honest and simple and heartfelt way, we call out to Krishna, please help me. Oh Lord, please be kind to me. Please engage me in your service. Please be my father, my mother, my grandfather, everything. As parents ourselves, which most people in this audience are, I think, or parents to be one day, it becomes then our responsibility to make sure that we connect our children not just to ourselves, but to those parents, to that parent, that mother, that father, that grandfather, who will give our children protection when we cannot, who will give our children protection when they need it most, and when we may or may not be there to help them. No matter how much we try, we cannot, on our own, protect our children from everything they need or everything that is of danger to them. We cannot. How will we protect them? And we run by the faith that the Lord will protect. When we send our children out to school, we have the faith Krishna will protect them. When we one day will send them off to college, it's with the faith that Krishna will protect them. When they go off to play with their friends, it's with the faith that Krishna will protect them. Physically, mentally, emotionally. When we see them off on the marriage altar and give their hand in marriage, we do it with the faith that whoever they're marrying, husband or wife, is going to care for them and protect them and love them. We can do as much as we can. But ultimately, Bhagavatam says, a parent cannot protect a child. A doctor cannot protect a patient. That we all have experience of. Ultimately, who is the mother, who is the father, who never sleeps, who always looks after our children? That's Krishna. That's Krishna, and he demonstrates it. He shows time and time again that he's willing to protect. In the case of Prahlad, in the case of Dhruva, in the case of so many of children throughout history. So does it not behoove us as parents to connect our children with their eternal parents and ensure that before they leave our nest, they have that shelter? Then we can sleep peacefully. Yes, I know that they are protected. Sometimes, as parents, we have this fear that if I connect them to Krishna, then they're going to not do well in their worldly life, in their worldly duties. If they become too religious, if they become too Krishna conscious, if they go too much into bhakti, then everything else will suffer. Isn't it? We have this fear sometimes that bhakti is for old age. When you don't have anything else to do, then you should do bhakti. Because when you're young, bhakti is dangerous. What if you start chanting and then you just walk off into the forest and take sannyas? This is a fear we have. It may be possible. What if bhakti, okay, chanting, okay. But in my extended family, the biggest fear was today they're all very nice devotees. But it used to be Ekadashi fasts. If the kids fast for Ekadashi, then oh my God, what's happened? It's horrible. Doing vrats is only something for old people. And that too, only old women do vrats. Men definitely not. We have this conception. I remember growing up as a child, we went back home to visit every year. We go to India to visit family, extended family, grandparents, uncles, aunts, chachas and chachis, and mamas and mummies, and everyone. And as little kids, we used to have this shikha, this chutya, and short hair. And I remember one time going back, and one of my relatives pulled my parents aside and whispered in their ear. They said, what happened? बच्चों की स्कूल में भर्ती नहीं हुई क्या? यहाँ पे हम करवाते हैं उनका. What happened? Did the kids fail in school? Did something go wrong? Why did you make them devotees? Means the assumption was they must have failed in everything in their material life, then only you would take to the path of bhakti, right? After everything is done in life, you can't work anymore, you can't eat much, you've gotten too old to do anything, then you give your life to God. The leftovers of our life. Go to Krishna. You know that story, there's this nice story that Prabhupada tells, that this one man bought a big basket full of puffed rice from the market. And you know puffed rice, this muri, it's very light. So he was taking it, and he didn't cover it, and just taking it like this. And all of a sudden there was a gust of wind. And the wind took the muri in the air. And as soon as it went into the air, he said, "Oh Lord, this is for you." Up until that point, it was for me. But after that, Krishna, this is for you. So this is what we do with our own lives, and then we encourage our children to do the same. Focus on your studies, focus on your marriage, focus on your making good money, focus on getting the house and the 2 cars, focus on taking care of me, focus on all of these things, right? And then if you have anything left over at the end of your life, you can give a little to God. Spend a little time for Krishna. At most, 10-15 minutes a week, you can give to Him, right? Because the returns are good on it. You give. For 15 minutes a week, or an hour a week, you get lots of prosperity. Sukha sampatti ghara aave. All that happens. Dukh sab mit jaye. Everything goes away, all your bad things, and you get a really nice free feast after the program also. So one day's dinner is finished. Right? So the returns are good. So okay, once a week, Sundays is okay. 2 minutes before you go to school or to work is okay. But here's the thing. There is not one instance in recorded history where when we encourage our children to become serious in their practice of Krishna consciousness, that they have suffered materially. Never before has that ever happened. Rather, the record shows that when we succeed spiritually, the material side automatically is successful. It follows. When Arjun was there on the battlefield, Krishna said, "Surrender to me." What was the result of his surrender? He went off and became a sannyasi? No. He became better at fighting. He became more focused, and he was victorious. When the little boy Dhruva was upset because his father, he was a little boy and he wanted to sit on the lap of his father, who was the king. And his stepmother, Suruchi, pushed him off and said, "No, you cannot sit on your father's lap because you were not born from my womb." And he became so upset and so angry. And crying, he went to his own mother, Suniti. And his mother, what did she say? "You go to Krishna. You go to Lord Vishnu, surrender to Him. Lamentation and anger bring nothing in this world. Do something and go pray to the Lord. He's the only one who can solve your problem. Become a good devotee." And he became a good devotee, became so determined. 6 months he saw Krishna. This is why his name is Dhruva. After he saw Krishna, what happened? Did he become a sannyasi? No. He came back and became king in his father's footsteps, a greater king than his own father, and then got an upgrade and became king of the pole star, of Dhruva. When Prahlad, he dedicated his life to Krishna, Nrsimhadev came to protect him. After he saw Lord Nrsimhadev, did he say, "I've seen the Lord, now let's take sannyas"? No, he became king. And he ruled, and he had a wonderful son named Virochan, who is the most generous person in the world, and a grandson named Bali Maharaj, who defeated the demigods, the devas, in battle, and was also a great devotee of the Lord. The historical record shows that when we emphasize Krishna consciousness, the material automatically follows. And when we emphasize the material, what follows? Nothing. Not Krishna consciousness for sure, but also materially, we don't end up happy. We end up frustrated. I sometimes ask my students in the university, I say, why are you so stressed out? They say, well, because your exams are too hard. Reasonable. Why are you so worried about my exams? Well, my grade, obviously, in the course. Why are you so worried about your grades? Because I have to graduate. Why do you want this degree? At this point, they think I'm crazy. Why is this professor asking this question? I say, no, you tell me, why do you want this degree? Well, to make money. Why do you want to make money? To be happy? To be comfortable? And I ask them, do you really think money will make you happy? And every single one of them says, no. Because they've seen it. They've seen that it doesn't make you happy. You need a certain amount, no doubt. Something basic to live off of. But beyond that, it doesn't add to your happiness. They did a calculation recently that the optimum salary is like, what is it?
75,000 you need.
75,000. Unless you live in Silicon Valley, then you need 175,000. New Jersey is pretty expensive too. You know? But anyway, it means there's a certain limit beyond which it doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't add to your happiness at all. Right? We know this. We know this. And yet, I say then why are you so stressed out then? Like, why are you doing this? Tell me really. And if they're honest, the only answer they give is because everyone else is doing it. Because we're sheep, following the other sheep. And we know this is the right way. Well, why? Because everyone else is doing it. But that's not a sufficient reason. Right? That's not a sufficient motivation to give our children in the course of our lives. We, as parents, as mothers and fathers and grandfathers ourselves, are successful to the extent that we can connect our children to our eternal mother, father, and grandfather. That is Krishna. And in order to do that, we need to make an effort. Sometimes we think that our children will get Krishna consciousness automatically, by osmosis. Right? If I do the agarbatti at home and I bring them to Sunday once a week, somehow they'll magically become religious and pious and good devotees. But does anything happen by magic? We all know that we have to put in hard work for whatever we do. Shri Shri Gonitai. Means if the kids just hang out and go to school every once a week for 1 hour, 2 hours, will they become smart and intelligent? We put in effort into their education, right? We put in effort into them becoming socially capable. We put an effort into every aspect. We make sure they come home and they do their homework and how did you do in the exam? And show me your report card. And oh my God, you got an A-, that's horrible. How could you do that? We set high standards for them, right? But when it comes to our Krishna consciousness, we think, it'll happen. He's a good boy. He goes to the temple and every day he bows down. That's not enough. Not in this environment. We live in a world that is geared against becoming Krishna conscious, becoming spiritual. It's a materialistic world. It's a hedonistic world. And to balance things, if you want to balance the spiritual and the material, you need to do extra of the spiritual. Right? We need to emphasize this side. Then it'll be somewhere in the middle. Just like when the pendulum, if it's too far this way, then you swing it this way, and then it lands somewhere in the middle. We need to put in an effort. It's not on autopilot. That just by once a week, it's going to happen. We need to ask ourselves, how can I help our children train our children on a day-to-day level and make this a priority along with their material priorities. That we keep track. How are they progressing? What are they doing for Krishna? How is their relationship with Krishna growing? What have they learned about our scriptures, like Gita and Bhagavatam? What service have they done in the temple recently? How are they relating to other devotees? What is their association like? What are their friends like? All of these questions we need to make a priority. Then only we can expect that our children will grow up with a character that gives them both the best of the spiritual and the material. Then we know that they will not be losers. We can be confident that we have done our responsibility. When we cannot be parents anymore for them, they will have their eternal parents. Pitahamasya jagata mata dhata pitamaha. We will have connected them to the father and mother and grandsire of this entire universe. So our humble request is that we take Krishna's words seriously and we try our best not to be like Hiranyakashipu, of separating our children from Krishna or discouraging them in their spiritual life. We should not have any fear. Krishna is only going to help us and help our children succeed in every way. Rather, let's be like Suniti, like Dhruva's mother, and say, look, my boy, my girl, you connect to Krishna, because if you do that, he will take care of you. He will take care of everything. He will ensure that you become the most successful person in this world in every way. Just like Dhruva, and just like Prahlad, and just like all these wonderful great souls. Thank you very much. If anyone has any questions or comments, we'll just give it a couple minutes because I know we're close to our time here.
Well, you gave those nice examples. So let's take examples on the other side, like Raghunath Das's parents and Narottam Das's parents, who allowed their child to become a little Krishna conscious, but then they renounced everything. They gave up and they just became sannyasis. Even the case of Bali Maharaj, he was, at least for a little while, and then you have Parikshit Maharaj, who was such a wonderful devotee, and Krishna took everything away from him. So we even say that when Krishna shows special mercy, Dr. Siddhanta used to quote the verse, Krishna shows special mercy, he'll take everything away. So maybe I should, be so eager to give my children so much Krishna consciousness.
Yes. We sometimes we're afraid that Krishna will take things away. Right? Krishna will take everything away. But the reality is that Krishna, he gives. Even when it looks like he takes, he only gives. Right? He only gives. The reality is this world takes everything away from us. Right? The world is set up in such a way that things will slip from our fingers. Life itself slips away. Our wealth slips away. Everything slips away. By giving our children Krishna, we're giving them one thing that will not slip away. One thing that they can keep. Even tomorrow, if the stock market crashes and they're, great stock fund investors and they become paupers, they lose everything. It happens, right? We cannot be sure. One day, maybe when they're 50, something will happen and they will lose their money. They will lose so much. But one thing they cannot lose is Krishna. What if at some point they lose their health, they become sick? Well, we all become sick, right? It's only a fool who thinks that they will not become ever sick. So our children will also. They may lose their health. But one thing no one can take away from them, that if we give them, is Krishna. Right? So this is the gift we're giving them. The one thing that they will never, ever lose. That they will always keep with them. And that will always keep them happy. That bead bag with the japamala in it. That feels like such a threat to so many of us. That our child is becoming too much of a devotee. That japamala is the one thing no one will ever take away from them. No one can take that. If you have Krishna with you, no one, it's not even worth stealing. Little beads of wood. You lose your wallet, you lose everything. But you have your bead back. You have Krishna. And if you have Krishna, you have everything. Right? So that's the gift we can give them. Right? That's the real present we can offer them. Is the gift that keeps on giving, the gift that never dies. There's only one gift that like that, and that's Krishna. So let's give them that gift in whatever way we can. So we'll stop here. Thank you again so much for your attention.